story on my Oliver 1800A. So it actually was a family friend of ours who always ran John Deere's, and actually had bought this kind of as a joke, but they ended up liking it and using it on a feed wagon for a while. And then it lost oil pressure one day, and they don't know why, and they brought it to my dad to have him fix it, and tried to find a different crankshaft for it, couldn't find one, and so I still have that block, but I ended up getting the tractor from them and hauling it home, and then kind of parked it out back for a while I searched for an engine for it. I found one up in Minnesota out of a 1750, and so it's actually a 283, where the original would have been a 265, but it was stuck. So I had to soak it for a while, and after several weeks of soaking, I invented a genius way of breaking it free using the hydraulic pressure from my 1650. Got her cranking there. So then it was time for disassembly for rebuilding it, and actually it's got M&W pistons in it, 3 and 15/16, so it's a little over 283 right now, and everything was pretty good shape. I did end up getting the crankshaft polished, but I got the block all cleaned out and re-honed the cylinders and got her reassembled, painted all up, and painted the tub while I had it apart, just in case this motor actually worked. And so then I actually dumped her back in and got the head back from the machine shop. They had rebuilt it, and so started slowly assembling all the pieces together, painting things as I went. So had the carburetor off, and it was pretty nasty, so I needed to rebuild that too. Spent some time soaking in the ultrasonic cleaner there, works great. Slowly piecing her back together as time allowed, and they go together pretty easily, and got her running. This was the first run, and everything seemed to be working. Had good oil pressure, wasn't getting hot, started right up, idled good, ran good. Still needed some timing adjusted, and the carburetor adjusted a little bit, but took her out for a little spin just to make sure everything worked. It's got all new fluids in it, which, you know, costs a fortune. Put 10 gallons of 90 weight in, and however many gallons of hydraulic fluid. Had to clean the fuel tank out, so now that it ran, it was time for paint. And you know, this is one thing that bugs me, is why can't people mask off their tires when they paint a wheel? I mean, it's not that hard, and it makes it look so much better. So anyways, I was fitting on the panels here, making sure everything fit right, and then I washed her down and waxed those panels, finished painting the insides of the rims. I did not paint any of the sheet metal because I am not a body man, so that's how she looks. Then I did a little dyno testing on it, dyno tuning, and this actually isn't the latest dyno run that I've done, but it's the video that I found. You can hear it's got a miss in it. I don't know if it's the condenser or the points. I've already replaced the points once. So that's some of the things that I'm going to be working on here shortly. But my latest dyno pull, I actually did get about 90 horse out of it, just barely under. pretty good for an old 1800A. And that's there because I broke the throttle, which is one of the things I need to fix on it. And so I guess that brings us to here. So here she is. Sorry, I probably won't be able to get very good shots of her because I'm kind of packed in here tonight. Got a few things I'm working on. The sheet metal actually looks better on the camera than it does in real life. It's original paint. I just waxed it, and then it sat all winter and most of the summer without me touching it. And I'm guessing if you put a little wax on it, she'd shine up again. But I don't have my fancy glasses camera yet, so I didn't really get to film anything of what I was doing tonight, but I put in this tack that I got from Justin Meyer, and it's got about 1,200 hours more than what the original tack has. But it's the appropriate white face tack for this tractor, and the temp gauge. And now I need to find a speedometer, and then I don't know if the fuel gauge and the oil pressure gauge are supposed to be newer like that, or if they should also be white face. Obviously the amp gauge is aftermarket. So slowly coming up with gauges for it, but I don't think that's a deal breaker. I tried messing with the wiring for the lights, and I can't get them to work. I don't know if the bulbs are burned out, but I'm not really going to mess with it anymore. This is my Cub Cadet seat that I put on here. The seat was totally shot, totally gone, and I did not want to buy an original seat because that costs a fortune. And I had this off of a junk lawnmower, and it sits pretty good on there, but it's pretty tall, which is alright for me. But if a shorter person were to buy this, they might have to change this up a little bit. But anyways, yeah, this 283 M&W 3 and 15/16 piston and sleeve kit. Head's totally rebuilt, all new bearings, new Hastings rings, honed cylinders, pretty much all new on the inside. Hydropower, replaced all the fluid, new filter, all new fluids everywhere, antifreeze, engine oil, actually. And it's the original air cleaner and muffler, but I painted them black with the grill paint. It seems to last longer, but it is kind of flaking off already. And then since it's the 1750 air cleaner assembly underneath there, I had to get that A adapter to go down to that air cleaner bowl pre-cleaner. So it probably could be cut off shorter, and then it would look a little bit more appropriate, or that could be adapted under the hood and would probably look the most appropriate. But these back fenders, haven't touched them. They're straight-ish. I'm just not a body man, and I don't want to mess these up for somebody who wants to do this right. But all the frames painted, everything's mechanically sound. You saw the video on the dyno, so you know the PTO will hold. 3-point works. Hydraulics work. Hydraulics have, I don't remember what the pressure is now. It's whatever they're supposed to have, 2,500 or whatever PSI. I've tested those out. Steering, is what you can expect out of the Saginaw steering or whatever this is, which is not great, but it works. It's just kind of slow. New water pump, rebuilt carburetor, although the carburetor, man, they suck. I've rebuilt it twice, and I still don't think it's right. So it doesn't start real well, but it'll run fine after it gets started. So I don't know what the deal is with there. New diaphragm and everything inside of it. It's just doesn't like me. And then I put an electric fuel pump on it because that mechanical fuel pump is shot, and I couldn't find one, although I have found one now. But I kind of like the electric fuel pump because it primes itself with the key instead of having to crank it over. So, you know, if it's been sitting for a long time and the bowl's empty on the carb, you just turn the key on for a little bit. You don't have to crank and wait for fuel to get to the carburetor. So hydropower shifts good, clutches works good. And then the other thing that I replaced tonight was this throttle linkage, which is kind of off of that arm right in here. I had broke that off while I was dynoing, so I got a replacement arm and that linkage from Justin Meyer up in Minnesota, but I just replaced the linkage. The arm was still good shape. But brakes work good. I mean, everything works. Steering wheel should be replaced, but it works. This maybe is a little better shot of the sheet metal. And it could use tires. These things are real weather checked, but they do actually have tread on them. Some. No wheel weights or anything. And it probably needs that spring that goes between the 3-point arms. And I really want to steal that toolbox off there, but I'll let it go. You can also see the drawbar. I don't know if you can tell. It looks like it's still brand new cut. So I mean, 2,500 hours is what the other tack showed, and it did work before it was parked, but then it got seized up, and I'm not a gauge rebuilder, so I just got a different one. And so yeah, 2,500 hours on the machine, about 10 hours, probably less, on the engine, all new fluids. So anyways, I'll probably keep tinkering on this a little bit until spring, and then get her listed for sale. So there is the story. Maybe somebody can put it on a feed wagon again. Alright, thanks guys. Talk to you later.
Say you're the real deal, but you play what nobody feels. You sing about Johnny Cash, the man in black would have whipped your ass, and I don't think we've done it that way.